Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this very special interview today. We have the privilege of speaking to Mr. Ghassan Hakim. A brief introduction about our esteemed guest. With over 35 years of professional experience in financial services, focused in global mutual funds, transfer agency operations, and technology, Mr. Ghassan Hakim has witnessed the significant transformation of back office operations from staffing changes to technology breakthroughs. Furthermore, over the past 20 years, he has had first hand experience with the introduction of outsourcing functions offshore and nearshore and witnessed its evolution from early stages of process, basic business process outsourcing to current build, operate, transfer models. He also currently serves as a board advisor at Cloud Angle, and in today's conversation, we will be discussing the key aspects on build, operate, transfer models and getting valuable insights from him. So, a very warm welcome to you, sir. We're very honored to have you here with us today.
Deepshika, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you this today.
Okay, sir. So we'll get started quickly on our discussion with BOT today. So I remember the first time when I was introduced to the BOT or the build, operate, transfer concept, someone told me this was something that was initially followed in the infrastructure industry, and then the IT services picked this up, right? So I want to understand from you that how and when was this concept adopted here in the IT services domain? And how has it evolved over the time?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, my focus is not only IT, but also operations. And also, my focus is primarily mutual fund transfer agency. That's what I've spent, as you mentioned in the introduction, all my years. And although my discussion is going to be about financial services, really this has transcended over other, applications too. So it's not only, I mean, health services and other organizations have had the same kind of experience. Outsourcing really started, I think, after the year 2000 transition. The old generation would refer to as Y2K. I know the younger generation may not even know what Y2K means, but this is when we transferred into the year 2000 and had a significant work to be done on the technology, which was primarily mainframes, right? And so 20 years ago is when outsourcing started. And outsourcing, as was known at that time, was business process outsourcing, BPO, that then it became KPOs, and it became LPOs for the legal process outsourcing. It was referring primarily to taking a back office the way it is, again, primarily in the US or even in Europe, but it started really in the US, taking it offshore, primarily India, keeping the status quo, right? But thinking about lowering cost. So the BPO was not a transformation, was not a transition to something different other than keep using my system, but find ways to introduce some efficiencies, have some lower cost staff, reduce my overall cost. That's kind of how it started 20 years ago. And then it started evolving. Uh, Out of BPOs came the captive centers, so people started moving towards captive centers, feeling that, I can do it better and I need to have that ownership. And then captive centers started having some issues. This is where the build, operate, transfer, the BOT model got introduced. So it is an evolution, if you will, in our industry. Again, as I said, it's also affecting other industries, but that's kind of how it started, and now really more people talk about BOT, again, build, operate, transfer, more than they just talk about business process outsourcing. And one quick note, BOT is more a positive connotation of the model. It means transformation, it means innovation, it means change. BPO is has that just focus on lower costs. So that's kind of the evolution, if you will, over time.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, so that's very interesting how these industry has moved from BPO to captive centers to BOT engagements now. And like you said, BOT has a very positive connotation. So I want to know from you, what are these challenges which a BOT engagement really helps address for clients?
Sure. So I will focus on organizations that have prior experience, right? So, prior outsourcing experience, BPO or including BOT, and organizations that have either never outsourced offshore, or really never offshore, and that didn't do offshore, outsourcing at all. So let's start with organizations that have outsourced before, right? So they have experience. They've done BPOs, they've done captive centers, they may have done BOTs. Why would they basically go back and do a BOT today, right? So that's one aspect. What the organizations that I have been advising and discussing and talking about historically over the last few years is they have now experienced a stalemate, if you will, in their captive centers. They may have done a BOT and transferred it, and now it's their own, and they've seen lower quality issues, lower productivity, some staff turnovers. Um, Clearly, the COVID situation changed the dynamics of certain, operations, if you will. People working from home, people looking for change, people going through psychological issues, and as a result, they've seen increase in operating cost. So a BOT for those organizations is a reset. It's just basically it's a fresh start by taking what they have today and then transforming it into a unit that is more productive, um, and introduces more innovation and retains more, the staff and what have you. So that's one group of people that BOT is actually very valuable for, even those that have done it before. For those same organizations that have had the prior experience, they could also be looking for an innovation lab, a new product, or something that they want to do without affecting the status quo at home. A BOT is an ideal situation where you could just build it, have somebody build it, have that group operate it, and then eventually transfer it back if it's successful. If it's not successful, it can basically be dissolved without a major impact, right, to the organization. So that's the organizations with prior experience. Organizations that have no prior experience, and I've had a discussion recently with an organization that had basically is facing situations where even keeping the lights on is becoming a challenge for them. Basically, the staff is missing deliverables. There's some quality issues. There's also turnover and higher cost. Those organizations are, ripe for a BOT because they can take that environment and kind of set a new environment, have it kind of operate and then transfer it back once it's successful after a number of years, because BOT is not only the build, it's operate for an agreed upon number of years, but then BOT is about transfer, and we'll talk about transfer more. So those are the type of organizations that would benefit from BOT today. Again, I look at BOT today mostly as improvement, it's innovation, it's transformation, it's change.
Mhm. That's pretty interesting. So I do see like there are multiple benefits for any organization having a BOT model with their partners. But something that I see, because everyone, any organization looking at a BOT model needs to have a very reliable, adaptable, and a very flexible partner so that they can get the maximum output of it. Like you said, a very stable process, a very innovation first engagement. So, how do you think, and what are the most important key factors an organization should keep in mind when selecting a partner for a BOT engagement?
All right, this is a loaded question
Right, right.
because there's a lot of things at play here when you think about selecting the right partner. Um, the first thing that I look for is cultural alignment. there has to be that dynamics, that if I have a certain culture in my organization and I'm dealing with another partner, it is extremely important that we are aligned on culture. And that culture transcends across, it's not just, here's my presentation, here's what I believe in. It has to be, transcended throughout the staffing, throughout the model, basically. So cultural alignment is extremely important. The other piece, and there are again a number of factors, and they're not, now it's not really a priority. It's just a whole list of things that I look for. Full transparency, right? So, I want a partner that's not a black box. I don't want to just tell the partner just go do it, and the partner says I've done it. I want somebody has full transparency. That's transparency in pricing, transparency in human resources, policies and procedures. It's involving me as the client with even the interview process. So basically full transparency on a number of fronts. um, Clearly, prior experience is extremely important. There's been a lot of lessons learned over the years for organizations. So I want an organization that has had that prior experience. They've done BOTs before. They may have had some setbacks. They've learned from them. They've moved on and they've become more agile. Because that partner has to think. They have facilities to think about. They have the infrastructure to think about. There is HR, recruiting, and all the staffing and the price, and the model, the payroll, and what have you. And then there's the deliverable. I also look at a partner who's willing to put skin in the game. So that is an extremely important piece up front. They recover that skin in the game over the number of years that they operate, and then they transfer. But upfront skin in the game is very important. And one of the items that I look for is, are they willing to put, delivery managers to do the oversight and work with our organization, if you will, as we move along the different phases of BOT. So these are some of the key things that I look for. But I would go back and say cultural alignment is an important piece.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I understand there's so many moving pieces, and a partner. It is very important to get the right partner, and absolutely, the people who are listening to us today can get insights into how they can take the first step and in choosing the right partner for their BOT engagements, right? Okay, so I'm going to ask the next question. I know you have already mentioned about the benefits from a BOT engagement, and they seem very substantial, right? But I want to understand from you, in your opinion, which is that one critical benefit among all that just stands apart from all the other benefits. And if someone wants to enjoy that benefit out of the BOT engagement, they should take that step right away. So what is that
Yeah.
one main benefit?
Yeah, Deepshika, I want to take a step back before I get to the final benefit. I just want to
Okay.
talk a little bit about, how an organization gets ready for a BOT, if you don't mind, because that,
Mm-hmm.
ties in with the ultimate benefit that I want to talk about. Okay.
Absolutely. Sure.
So when I look at, again, an organization getting into a BOT, the key is the buy-in from the CEO and the executive level. That group has to be on board with the concept of the build, operate, and transfer, right? So it is extremely important that buy-in is there, and that basically that message transcends into the organization, so that the organization understands that they're not basically taking a piece of business away from the organization. They're just kind of incubating it on the side and then bringing it back in, right? So that message from the top down is very important, and that is one thing. The second thing that an organization has to do is plan. So a lot of due diligence has to be done upfront, even you select a partner. There is a lot of work that needs to be done to ensure that your as is model is properly documented, your issues, your challenges, your goals, that you know exactly where you are, where you really need to be. and then that due diligence basically, continues when the partner is selected. A BOT there has to be a tone set by the organization. This is what we're doing. Here's the goals. Here's the, what have you. And then basically setting up an oversight and governance and what have you. So there's a lot of things that an organization can do before selecting, and then during the selection process, and then ongoing, right? So so the reason I mentioned that is because that's the goal that's been set in the organization that needs to be achieved, right? And so when we get to the BOT benefits, when we look at, what are the benefits, in general, people would say, well, return on investment, right? So did I, get my investment back? Did we achieve our stated goals? Did we lower our costs? Did we introduce efficiencies? Did we transform the business? Did we create, retention among the staff? Did we, those are the stated objectives that we may have set in the beginning. Have they been achieved? So you go through that model. But one thing that, so let me share with an experience. I spoke with an organization at the beginning of the selection process of a BOT and asked them that question: what are you looking for at the end, right? And then they basically prioritize those benefits. And then I asked them at the end of the BOT, after the transfer took place, did you achieve your objectives? What was the key benefit, right? The key benefit that they stated at the end was never mentioned at the beginning. And it will be surprising to some, or maybe to more people than some, that the actual key benefit was the transfer, the seamless transfer at the end. And the reason I stress that is because there's no stress when you transfer a BOT, at the end. If you've done cultural alignment and you've worked with full transparency and you've had a very strong oversight, the business is run by the partner on a Friday. On a Monday morning, it's run by the organization. It's that seamless, right? It's, there is everything is already in place. The policies and procedures are the same. The staffing is the same. The payroll follows the payroll of the organization. The infrastructure, the equipment, the compliance, the IT security, everything has already been set up during the build and operate, right? So that on Monday morning, when you do that transfer, it is seamless. And for me, that is the key benefit of a BOT model.
Mhm. Okay. Wow. So having that right partner, I mean, we were talking about cost saving, we were talking about technology first, innovation, and the key benefit is having the seamless transfer. And I can definitely see how that's really important for any organization when you have a large project or a team which comes and becomes a part of your organization. That seamless transfer is what makes the difference. The hassle of not having to realign a lot of things, that's the first point of having the BOT engagement, right? So I definitely can see why that would be the most important benefit for any of the our organizations doing a BOT project. So, Ghassan sir, the next question is again on the partners. So, having a very trusted partner, a transparent partner, like you said, is very important, right? And I know at Cloud Angles, there are multiple large BOT projects that are undertaken. Can you tell us what are the advantages of Cloud Angles in delivering these large BOT projects? And if someone wants to choose Cloud Angles, what is that Cloud Angles stands apart from other providers in the market?
Absolutely. So Cloud Angles is a young organization, so it is a small young organization. But behind Cloud Angles is a seriously highly experienced people in BOT. So a lot of the folks that I deal with, and I'm very happy to be an advisor to Cloud Angles. A lot of the people I deal with, I've actually known them for over 20 years myself. as well as they've other people that have had other experiences with BOT with different organizations. So that depth of experience is available, in the organization. As the organizations get larger, you lose some of the benefits of the BOT, because organizations start becoming less transparent. They may have different goals than aligning those goals with the client. It just becomes a very huge bureaucratic machine. Cloud Angles is ideal for BOT because it is flexible, it's nimble, it's transparent, it's got the experience, and it can, it has already done a number of deliverables that has a proven track record, if you will, on its deliverables. So, I belong to a very large organization 20 years ago, and we actually chose a very small unknown group to do our BOT, which was a sizable BOT, and that proved to be a successful, formula for us.
Great. Absolutely. I think Cloud Angus has that agility to successfully deliver the BOT engagements, right?
Absolutely.
Um, so and now we're going to conclude this interview. Uh, Thank you so much, Mr. Ghassan sir, for sharing your valuable insights and build, operate, and transfer model, and specifically from what it means from a customer's and an organization's perspective, right? There are very less people who talk about it. Everyone's just talking about from a provider's perspective. So that perspective is really going to mean a lot to our viewers, to everyone who's listening to this. Uh, and I'm sure they are going to take a lot out of this interview. And I just want to say that if in future anyone who's listening, anyone, the audience here, wants to or has any questions, any doubts about BOT engagements, they could reach out to Ghassan sir, right, sir?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Absolutely.
and they can definitely write to Cloud Angles or info@cloudangles.com, and we'll be there on this call and explaining you why you should go ahead with the BOT engagement, right? So thank you so much, sir, for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.